Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Special show tonight, playoff edition. Couldn't go without talking about the game. And of course, I have Alec Polianis of One Winning Pod here with me today to talk it over. Alec, the anxiety was getting to me. I had a lot of thoughts I wanted to get out, so I figured I'd pull you on here and see if we could put together some thoughts for this game, this huge game this Saturday against the Texans.
You and me both, man. It's been too long since we chat football in this kind of medium. We talk all the time, but to talk, on a show, it's been a while. Gotta do it more often, huh?
Got to do it more often, but what better time than right now? Huge game. Alec, I know you're going to the game. What is the game plan this Saturday?
Game plan is it's getting ironed out, finalized. But I believe the caravan starts at 1 o'clock, maybe a little sooner. I'm going to drive on down. We should be at our spot by 1:30 at the latest. We like to get there 3 hours before kickoff, but I could see us getting there a little bit earlier. I was just telling my cousin the menu. It is full of bacon and other pork products. It's going to be a whole lot, man, going on, and we're excited. Got to get locked in, and I tell you, man, I've never been more ready to go out in the cold. Strap on the hot hands, pop a halls or two, and just be loud for the boys.
So, how many drinks before you go in? You usually do the bulk of the drinking before you go in and pay an arm and a leg.
I don't drink a single thing once I get in the stadium. My goal is to drink. I really don't like to drink like that. Frankly, for the game, I want to be like fully in, but I want to be able to like be in my seat and never have to pee. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful. That's the thing. So I just don't. It's the game's plenty of fun. I don't need anything else changing it up.
Good game plan. Good game plan. I like it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a drinker anymore because of my medicine. Doesn't mean I don't drink. If I see you or if some of the fellas come along, I'll definitely have a few drinks with you. But my tolerance now is that of a person who doesn't drink. So that's
pretty much the same, dude. It's kind of pathetic.
pretty bad here. Pretty bad. So we have a lot to go over tonight. Let's jump into it. Alec, I just want to start with general thoughts here. I want to throw it to you on this. This game is absolutely massive, and I want the fans to take it that way. I don't want the fans to take this for granted. I don't think the team is taking it for granted. Big trust has been replaced with locked in. You already said it on this show, and I think it's perfect. This game is the biggest game of the season. It's the biggest game in Baltimore since the last playoff game. It's absolutely huge for this team, for the narratives are one thing, the national narratives are one thing, but that has creeped into this team and its mindset. They will not take this game for granted. Alec, they're wearing the purple jerseys with the black pants. They're serious about this game. They're not looking forward or looking ahead to a Kansas City or a Buffalo coming to town. It's all about this game, man.
Has to be. I was telling people on our show, like, you gotta, like, if you want to go to a playoff game, this is the game. There's no other game. There might be a game, but we can't take it for granted. Got to be loud and proud. This is the game to go to. And frankly, honestly, the tickets are, I hear that the Ravens are selling more tickets at face because Houston gave some back, which we love to see. And then B, even like on the sites, they're actually like right around face value. So pretty good value to go to this game, one of the cheapest wildcard game or divisional games rather that you can go to this year. We are actually like the cheapest trending ticket, probably because of the cold, but that's okay. Like I told you, bring some hot hands. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really important game, like you said, and I think the energy around it's very different. I think in 19 we saw how they were rolling, and it was something new. And we were like, oh man, it's going to be like this all the time. And I think it was a little taken for granted. We thought like we'd be right back, no problem. And in many ways we were. 2020, we were a good team, faltered in the divisional. And I think we just got to finish it this time, Like we got to get past the divisional, get to AC conference championship game. And most importantly, man, we never had one in Baltimore. Like it has to happen. I feel like that was my goal going into the season, frankly. Like I wanted, obviously you always want a Super Bowl, but I said a real like high watermark if we achieve it for this season, I thought was to get to the AFC Championship game in Baltimore.
It's funny
And
you say that
it's right
because
there.
me too. My first goal is always win the division. Number one, be the division champion. But my secondary goal was to host the AFC Championship game, whether we were the one seed or it just kind of fell in our laps. But to have that here, I mean, as somebody that's lived in Baltimore my whole life and have never seen one, my team moved away when I was 7 years old, about to turn 8 years old. So it's a long life for me. I know I look real young and good looking on camera. People will say, "Look at him; he's in his mom's basement." No, I'm a little bit older than that, and I've never seen an AFC Championship game here in Baltimore. I want it, bro. I want it, and
Yeah.
it would just be huge for the city. The city is already, Alec, as you know, you live here, purple everywhere. People psyched up. You just went to that event to go see Downing and Mink. Sure, we'll get some video and pictures from that. So the city is hyped. We deserve this championship game here in Baltimore. So let's get to some numbers, man. Let's flash some numbers up on the screen and really dig into this matchup here against the Houston Texans. The first graphic you see on your screen is the Ravens offense versus the Texans defense. You can see for all the stuff that the Ravens offense has been through these last few years, even with Tyler Huntley starting that last game and not having a very productive game, the Ravens finished fourth in 2023 at 28.4 points a game. This Texans defense, though, Alec, pretty stingy, 11th in the league. D'Amico Ryan's first year coach, former linebacker, they only give up 20.8 points per game. So just general thoughts here as we look at the points scored and points allowed for both teams.
You look at the Texans, and I feel like this smells like a bend, don't break defense because of the point total, but then also the passing success. I understand that they're second in the league in rushing yards, but when you have a pass defense that's 28th, I have to think sometimes that it's because people aren't trying to run too much, even though that is a yards per rush number. And I think people are trying to pass on them. I mean, we even saw Cleveland last week. They were passing an awful lot. And granted, they were behind, but I felt like that was their game plan going into it. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree, and it's hard to just look at the points without looking at that second column, the yards per pass. The Ravens third in the league. Oh well, the Ravens can't throw the ball; they just rely on the run. No, they are 7.9 yards per pass attempt. That is third in the league. And as you mentioned, Alec, the Texans 28th, 7.7 yards per pass attempt allowed. So they're almost as bad at defending the pass as the Ravens are at throwing the ball. And it gets harder, Alec, to throw the ball as you as you enter the red zone.
Yeah.
So you don't have to defend the field nearly as deep. So when you're talking about that bend don't break mentality, that makes sense to me. You look at the last column, the Ravens obviously great rushing team, 4.9 yards per carry, but the Texans stepping up. A huge story this year. They were terrible against the run last year. They were second in the league. They finished second in the league, only allowing 3.5 yards per carry. So, Alec, the Texans, maybe teams can throw the ball on them between the 20s, but when they get inside that 5, 10 yard line or whatever, you can't run the ball on the Texans. And of course, it's harder to throw with that condensed field.
It's a good formula for sure. And I guess we'll see if we're able to run against them. I think it was so interesting the first game of the year we played this team, and we weren't playing that well. Lamar didn't have that best of a game. Offense looked like it was, just not hitting all cylinders. It was basically like, did they pass it to Zay Flowers? They did that a lot, and that was pretty successful. And I remember being at the game actually with my wife, and she was just a little worried. She's like, "Are we going to win this?" I was like, "Man, we're kind of like outplaying them. Like I feel like we're outplaying them. We're just like not getting points." And the Ravens haven't had a game like that in a while. Now they play and they get the points and they outplay them. I hope that continues, and I think it will. I think this offense has really evolved since week one. It's really found its home, and honestly, it's interesting to me thinking about how they might incorporate Mark Andrews if he is available, because it's rolling right now. Likely's playing quite well, and I kind of think to myself that they'll want to use him as basically a pure receiver. That they're not even going to play around that he's a tight end. Obviously, he comes into the formation, and you think, "Oh, we got a tight end out there," but I think he's going to always be lined up where he's not blocking. I mean, he seldom blocks on passing downs, anyways. But I don't even know if they'll use him much on rundowns because I don't think they want to block him like that. I think if they do, they would have him 1-on-1 with a safety or a linebacker, whoever's covering him, and not in the pile.
Agreed. I'm thinking that with Andrews in this game, of course, for those who don't know, Mark Andrews, you might as well call him a game time decision. Things seem to be trending that he's going to play if he was practicing, but you can't obviously expect him to come back and assume his full role. So, what I would expect, Alec, is we saw a lot of Charlie Kolar blocking on the end of the line. Maybe Kolar does continue to do that to avoid Andrews putting all that stress on his recently healed broken leg. So maybe Andrews spells Kolar for a little while. Maybe he spells Likely a little while for a little bit. But I kind of expect to see all three tight ends. I think Mark will eat from each one of their roles and not just say, okay, he's going to go in there and be Charlie Kolar, what we've gotten from Charlie Kolar, or he's going to go in there and replace Likely. That first game, Alec, one of the big things that stuck out to me, and I did a cut up on the channel. Please go check it out. Did really well. It's like 7,000 views or something of Lamar's dropbacks against the Texans. Likely only one target. And Alec, I think it was like the first target of the game. So
Yeah.
Mark Andrews sat that first game versus the Texans, and the Ravens did not use Isaiah Likely. I would bet a lot that Isaiah Likely has more than one target this game.
Sure. Yeah, I bet so. And it's exciting to see how he has developed. And I was saying it before the season, and it didn't really come to light. But I think we have the opportunity now in the playoffs. I want to see how this 12 personnel can look, where you're actually using Likely to his full potential, and of course Mark Andrews as well, because that's nasty, man. I feel like it could be a really nasty combination, particularly with the outside wide receivers we have. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it. I think obviously they used a lot of Ricard as well in those situations. So we have some really cool personnel this year. I think that's something that can't be overlooked. We can go, in 11, no problem, and be menacing. We can be in 13, be menacing. We've even had some pretty cool pony plays this year, and I really enjoy all of that.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the pony plays are where two running backs are in the backfield. So yeah, we've seen that. We've seen it, and it's the thing that is crazy to me, Alec, is that it's been so successful, and we've done the same thing every time.
Dude, I
So
know. It's the same
be
play.
one
We only
thing
have
if
one pony play.
it was like one play. We're running the same play, and it's killing them every time. It's basically Gus is the fullback. Justice Hill was Keaton earlier, but Justice Hill is the running back, and we're going to run left. We're going to run left. Gus is going to be offset to the left. He's going to block somebody. Somebody's going to be coming in motion that way. They're going to block somebody. We might have a puller. Looks like a power play to me, and little pin and pull action, and we're just crushing teams. We only run it once a game, maybe twice. I think I'm going to go say we've never run it more than once in a game, but it's the same play, and it's just killing them, bro.
Every time, dude. I'm like, certainly a team's going to see that on film and be like, okay, it's the play. Now, this is something interesting. I think it's time to start breaking out the tendency breakers, dude. So, like, what's a tendency breaker there? You maybe give it to the up back. I don't think that'll be particularly effective, so I wouldn't do it. I think you maybe just PA it, It's a play action play. Now, I think the number one thing we haven't seen enough people in the NFL almost period do. I remember the Patriots did it as a tendency breaker. It's like, how we always play those screens, those wide receiver screens. We got to PA or like look like we're going there and then have someone streak and throw the bomb. You know what I mean? That's what we really need. Like, have them all collapsing, have everyone blocking or whatever, and then they fly out. And I think that play could work really well, too, because of the dynamic player that Lamar Jackson is. If they don't fall for it, he can still make something out of it and get some yards.
Right. That's the beauty of having Lamar Jackson or any kind of like semi-mobile quarterback, for real, is if it's not there, you pull it down, you scramble, with some quarterbacks, it might be a 5-yard gain. With Lamar, you're going to get 8, or he could take it 20 or 30 yards. But yes, I agree with you. If you're going to fake that run left, we've done it every single time both guys have been in the game. How about Lamar just pull it and actually block the edge rusher on that side where he's running to, instead of because that's the thing. And we've talked about this on Ken McCusick's show. A lot of play action doesn't work with Lamar because the backside defensive end is always conscious of Lamar coming out the back door. So It's like they're all over him. They're all over him. Lamar better hand it off because that backside defensive end isn't caring about the running game. He doesn't want to get gashed by Lamar Jackson in the open field. So let's put a body on that backside defensive end and let Lamar roll to that side. And man, eyes downfield, Lamar is a dangerous, dangerous guy, Alec.
Truly is. I'm excited, man. I think when Lamar had his media availability this week, and they were asking if he was confident they could put up points, he was saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm really confident. I definitely think that's the case." And it makes me think they've seen something on film that they know they're going to be able to exploit. And he just seemed really confident in his ability. And I'm just telling you, man, I think we talked about like at the top the locked in thing. Obviously, Lamar's matured, but I think a lot of that also comes from Roquan. He's so like no nonsense and just like seems laser focused in everything that he does. I think we were lacking that person on defense in 2019, and frankly, I think the defense is what did us in almost. They just weren't physical enough, and we will not see that with this version of the Ravens. They're full of disruptors. They're full of guys who want to blow you up, and they're just so dynamic. I think it's just a whole different team.
I agree with that, but I'm going to take it to another place, and I would love to hear comments below. Why is Lamar so locked in, so loose? If you've seen him at practice throwing snowballs, so confident. My own personal take on this is that Lamar's involvement with Todd Monken, the partnership that they have, not just he's got control at the line of scrimmage, but Lamar being involved in the game plan is what's allowing this to be like, okay, I'm not relying on what the coach is doing here. I found things that I believe are going to work against this Texans team, things we've been saving all year. I think like there actually is a vault of things, of progression, because Lamar knows. He, like you said, it seemed like he knew something everybody else didn't. You know what I mean? Lamar, are you confident you can put up points? Yeah, I'm pretty confident, and I'm not going to say nothing else about it because I don't want to say it, but like it was a genuine confident Alec, and I'm sure that's what you noticed there. But yeah, I'm going to say it's because he's a coach, player, coordinator. He's not just a quarterback going out there to do his job. He's involved actively in this game plan, and he's seen things on tape. And it's one thing to be like, Alec, do this, and you'd be like, all right, I'll do it. It's another thing to say, all right, Alec, what are we going to do? And then we go out and execute it better because we're both on the same page.
Surely is. I think he's been getting those advanced scouting reports immediately after the game of the next opponent, and that just kind of shows, I think, how involved he might be. He's reading it, he's understanding where they might have abilities to poke at him, and is able to kind of propose a plan that he thinks might work out well. And I think you're right, man. I mean, Monken said it at the top, when you make that partnership, there's a responsibility on their end too. They want to deliver. They don't want to be wrong. So it really helps, I think, when you have that kind of buy-in and whatnot. And I also think he also knows that he has some help. I mean, these wide receivers are a completely different story than 2019 and 2020 and any year that he's ever been a Raven, right? It's pretty dramatic difference, frankly. And we got a deep stable, and I think that's just super exciting for him as well. He doesn't have to do it by himself, and he knows that he'll have playmakers getting open, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to see it. And one other thing I want to notice, you don't really have to go into a big response to this if you don't want to, but with the control at the line of scrimmage, it's one thing to have an alternate play. Say, okay, look, here's your pass play. If they're showing this look, you can check to this run play. I think Lamar's had that before in the line of scrimmage. But what really caught my eye was, I don't remember which game it was. It might have been the Miami game. It was either Miami or San Francisco, one of the big games the Ravens won down the stretch. What team is Eli Apple on? It was the Miami Dolphins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Miami game where, okay, they had a pass play called maybe, but Lamar saw a receiver matched up on Eli Apple. I think it was Zay or Odell, saw the receiver matchup and altered the route itself. So he's not just calling a different play. He's altering the route based upon who is guarding who in that situation. And to me, that's next level adjustments. That's not just changing the play to another play. That is exploiting a particular matchup and a particular look in that situation, Alec. And That's dangerous, man. When you got that kind of connection between your quarterback, your offensive coordinator, when he's seeing the field and he understands the personnel on both sides.
Yeah, I agree, man. To be able to change those plays, but like just like at a route level and have the understanding, it kind of takes some of the optionality out of their route running. We always talk about a lot of these NFL pass concepts. The wide receiver has to make a decision on what kind of route they're going to run based on the defense. Um, Maybe all it was Lamar's like, hey, we got this guy. I know the way he plays. I want you to do this route. Like, don't even think about the other one, and I'm going to throw it your way. And when you say that to that wide receiver, I think that gives them like they're like locked in on that play. Oh, I'm getting the ball.
Right. I
So
want this called again. I better do a good job. I think it was
yeah,
the 33-yard pass to Odell Beckham at the sideline with the great catch that set up the
mm-hmm.
1 yard Gus Edwards touchdown. I'm pretty sure that's the play. Odell was in the slot versus Eli Apple, and Lamar saw that and was like, you know what? Let me change this. Bateman, don't run your route. You run this little short thing and open up that sideline for Odell. And he ran it, man. So, yeah, Lamar's control at the line of scrimmage. I was asked on Sarah and Bobby's show on the vault, what's my biggest takeaway? And it's that, man. When you get buy-in from the quarterback and they're able to work with the offensive coordinator like that, that's what you want, because nobody sees the field quite like the quarterback. These defenses are changing in real time, and it's up to our offense to make those adjustments. So let's flip over to the other side of the field. Ravens defense, when Texans have the ball. We'll go ahead and look at some numbers here coming up on the screen. You see this Texans offense, middle of the pack, 22.2 yard or points per game. And the Ravens, of course, Alec, finished first, 16.5 points per game allowed. So this Texans offense has grown throughout the season. I think they're a little bit better than the 13th best scoring offense in the league. What's your feel on that?
Yeah, they could be. I think they are. The thing that's so interesting about these numbers is the yards per rush. I feel as though Singletary really turned it on at the end of the season, so it does surprise me. I would love to see a split. But then you look at the passing yards, and that doesn't surprise you at all. They had such a dynamic passing game, particularly when they had all their horses. One of your favorites, Tank Dell, in this class, really showed up for them, was a big target for them. Nico Collins had his breakout year, almost 1,300 yards, and had a huge game in the wild card, 7 targets, 6 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And then you look at the points, 22 points. That feels like a little low, frankly. You've seen so many high-scoring games by them. It's probably brought down by a few stinkers. I know they had one against the Jets about a month ago. So I just look at this and I'm like, wow, I think this offense definitely can move the ball. But I do think they were gifted a lot of points in this wild card round. If you saw 45 points, you'd be like, oh man, they're so good. But frankly, first of all, they got 2 touchdowns off of pick sixes. So
Right.
that's the one thing. And then the other thing is, a lot of those touchdowns, I would say 2 of them at least, were sloppy tackling. Not Brevin Jordan. I loved him in the draft, but like we've never seen him have a play like that before. And may never see one again. So that was like a kind of almost like fluky, and they really were optimized on those big plays.
So if I could jump in and maybe summarize what you're saying, you think they're better than 22.2, 13th in the league offense per game, but versus the Browns with 2 big pick sixes and the Browns blowing some coverages, you don't think they're as good as they looked last week, but better than 13th in the league?
I am saying that. I'm also just saying it's such a week-to-week league, man. You look at the Texans; they barely made the playoffs. I'm not trying to like beat down on them. Like they were literally a 3rd-string running back not being in instead of having he was in instead of Jonathan Taylor on that little swing pass away from just sitting at home, watching the game. And I'm not, like,
Or if Trevor Lawrence doesn't get hurt and is playing really
even
poorly
like a little
down the
bit better.
stretch. Right.
Yeah, that was a total collapse, unbelievable. So I think it's one of those things where I'm not trying to belittle them. They're an up and coming team. They're going to be a really good team. I just it's really hard for me to believe that they're a Super Bowl team, right? They just don't. Every other team in the AFC, sure, like they could go to the Super Bowl. It's fine, whatever. I can see it, but like they don't really seem like that level of team. So I feel like this is you got to knock them out this round. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen enough. See you next year. But it just, I think they're not quite there. They have a lot of talent though that I don't want to discount. Nico Collins he's a darn good wide receiver, and they have Mechie, who's on the SNC. He looked decent, and Yeah, and like I said, Singletary had a really good end of season, and I know that you saw in those numbers 1-1-24. The Ravens' run defense isn't the best, and I think that's by design. You know, they almost invite you to run because they know that'll take some time, and it's really hard to win that way. The Ravens' defense has been built on you need to execute long drives. We're not going to give up big plays, and that's hard to do in the NFL. To have that kind of consistency down to down, and that's why I think they only let up 16.5 points a game.
Very true, very true. And I'll just go ahead and expand on that. The Ravens are willing to give you some rushing yards, and they do it with their formation. They show you it in their formation. Teams have been scared to death to run up the middle on the Ravens with Michael Pierce, Justin Matabike, Travis Jones rotating in, Broderick Washington even in the down years, a stout run defender. So the Ravens are playing their four big guys up front. They're playing Roquan and PQ 100% of the time. And they're rolling with that six-man box because Kyle Hamilton is in there somewhere as the seventh guy, whether it be slot or a strong safety. So you have seven really good run defenders on the field. That you have corners that can tackle. Obviously, Darby's very physical. Stevens is very physical. You'll be able to see that in their end of the year highlights. These are guys who aren't afraid to tackle. So the Ravens will give you a little bit, as you alluded to, Alec, on that rush game. You see the Ravens finished 24th at 4.5 yards per rush. We've never seen that. I think Ken spouts off the statistic often that the first, where we went like 20 years or something without allowing 4.0 yards per carry. We were at 3 point something every year for 2 decades. This Mike McDonald defense is different. We are going to give you some running yards because we want to be number one or really hard to beat through the air. So 5.9 pass yards per play allowed. You can see the Texans at 7.7. They're right behind the Ravens in fourth in yards per pass play. Battle of the Titans here, Alec. Titans pass game versus Ravens pass defense.
Yeah, well, I think our pass defense, like you saw, was number one. They're number four, but I think the difference is it's such a cohesive unit. Um, the way that this defense plays, passing off guys in zone, and their ability to have confidence in the spine of the defense and then force those wide receivers on the outside leverage. I mean, it's just tough, man. It's so tough. We really make it where you have to win, like not actually 1-on-1, but I think like you have to see guys make extra effort plays. Like there's so few gimmies. They're just so well covered. The way they fly around and the tight coverage, the physicality, the wrap up, you catch the ball, you're getting wrapped up. The way they attack the ball, particularly those short passes in the flat, they just don't get many yards after the catch. That's the difference. And we're like, you know what? You want to throw a 2-yard pass, 3-yard pass, catch it. We're going to tackle you. You're going to get 4 or 5 yards, and best of luck. I mean, obviously, if you keep doing that, yeah, we will score a touchdown eventually. But it's just so hard to do that in this league, man. You're going to get pass deflections. You're going to get, a run play that goes backwards, your sacks, etc. So it's a hard way to live, and they're just inviting it, and they have the guys to pull off that kind of scheme.
You mentioned all the big plays that Houston was able to get in the wild card round versus Cleveland. Some of that was busted coverage. It was also a lot of man coverage by the Cleveland Browns. And you mentioned the Ravens are not afraid to play zone. They pass off the zone with extreme discipline. You have really 3 guys that can play free safety on this team, which is extremely rare. I threw Kyle Hamilton in as the third because I believe he can do it. He just hasn't been asked to do it in this defense because you have Marcus Williams and Geno Stone. Both guys are better further away from the line of scrimmage than they are closer to it. So you got 2 guys in the back end that can really, and no matter who's on the field, that can take away the long pass. And you got guys with range, Roquan, PQ, who can run to those flats, willing cornerbacks. So like you said, okay, you want to throw a screen pass, maybe you'll get a few yards, but you might actually lose yards with Kyle Hamilton out there screaming down towards the play. You also might get a false start. We're going to sack you. We led the league in sacks. So it's really hard to string together drives against these Ravens teams because they're not giving up anything big, and they're going to force you into some negative plays. So it's a tough task. I don't want to minimize Houston here, Alec, because yes, they might not make it to the Super Bowl. You don't see a Super Bowl team. Most people wouldn't. but that doesn't matter to us. We need to beat them this week.
Oh
We
yeah,
need to win this week. If the Houston Texans, they can make it to the AFC Championship game, all they have to do is win this week in Baltimore. So the Ravens cannot let their guard down. This is not your typical rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Just so impressed with C.J. Stroud and his ability to take care of the ball, Alec, and make big plays. He's rare. He's there. He's going to be the best quarterback in that division for a very long time, unless one of these teams is able to draft a top end talent and have it work out. Because man, he is far, far ahead of where most rookies are.
man, you gonna hate on Anthony Richardson like that? Come on, man. He might be really good too.
He might
But
be.
yeah, but hey, man, this is the thing. I just had this thought for the first time, and I wanted to see what you think. I think this Ravens team is so darn good. They don't need to look ahead. They don't need any handicaps. They're so good. They can lock in on one opponent, be laser focused, knock them out, and then turn the page. Like they really just don't need to look ahead. That's how good of a team they are, and I think they might know that. You know, that might be why they're able to lock in so well. They know that they can beat any team, and the focus has to be on just doing that. Just beat the team. They don't need to look ahead. They don't need to be worried about anybody. They are the team to beat.
That's the word I was going to use. The Ravens aren't worried about whoever they play next week. And oh man, we got to get ready for this team because they're going to stress us. Like the Ravens are the big dogs. The Ravens are the ones that stress you with what they do. So, I'm going to go back to this running game of the Texans before we wrap it up and go to some
Yeah,
more thoughts here. The Texans had problems running the ball all year. Now they did switch running backs. So Damian Pierce had a great rookie season, but he
disappeared.
was not effective. Yeah, and replaced by Devin Singletary, who was kind of left for dead by the Buffalo Bills,
I
who
know.
really any running back up until this year wasn't going to have success in Buffalo. And Singletary showed that he still got some juice to his game. I like Devin Singletary. You're not going to get a ton of big runs, explosive plays from him, Alec, but he's really tough to tackle, and he can get you more than what's blocked for, and he's gotten hot down the stretch. What do you got on Devin Singletary?
Devin Singletary has great vision, patience, and like you said, the ability to tough it out for solid yards and get a little bit more than you blocked. And I think that's super important. He's always just provided. I feel like he's always over delivered in every role he's been in, and yet gets crapped on and passed along to other teams. He always is he's a pretty steady guy. But like you said, he doesn't have that huge breakaway speed. He isn't flashy, and therefore, teams are always looking for that next best guy. So, and that's fair. I think one thing we kind of left out on both sides of the ball, and it's worth bringing up now, is the offensive line. These guys are pretty nasty. They play quite well. They protected C.J. Stroud extremely well against what is apparently a very good defense of the Cleveland Browns. 0 sacks, only 1 QB hit. If you're able to pull that off, you're usually winning the football game. And I think that's where we have to see these Ravens disruptors, the slot blitzes, the edge rushers, the PQ screaming. I think they will pull out all the stops to disrupt this rookie, and I'm sure it'll be successful. But they always show discipline. They'll rarely send crazy numbers. It's all about deception. You don't know where it's coming from, and just a lot of hustlers, a lot of disruptors.
I want to point people back to the last video I released before this one, and it was the Ravens blitz packages against the Texans. Now, a couple of them, 2 of them, I believe, were 4-man rushes, but you had a big guy dropping into coverage and a linebacker coming. So I counted that as a blitz because it's unexpected rushers, even though it was only 4 of them on the play. 2 plays like that. But the reason I posted that instead of our 4-man rush is exactly from what you were saying, derived from what you were saying. And that is that first game versus the Texans. Texans fans will tell you it was a brand new center. It was a brand new left guard. I think it was almost emergency duty. Like the guys got hurt the week of the
It
game.
was. Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy the way they were just thrust into action. So I put the blitz packages in there because blitzes, you can get a free rusher. So it's not so much about the skill level of the center and the left guard as it is the communication, the confusion, confusing the quarterback. Of course, this line is played together now. The Texans line is played together. So their communication is going to be better than it was with emergency players. But I didn't want it to just be a 4-man rush situation where you see Matabike and Pierce running over some guy that's not going to play this week in this game. I wanted to show how the Ravens were able to confuse the Texans. And I believe that you will see some of these 5-man rushes with a slot corner, like you mentioned, coming off the edge free, or Roquan and PQ peppering the A gap so you don't know who's coming. A ton of movement shown by the Ravens. I think if you watch that video on the channel, you'll really get a sense of what it's like to be a quarterback and to see all that just going on in front of you, and not knowing. Like, they do a really good job, the Ravens do, of just clouding the picture and really making you think that they're going to blitz when they're not, and really just be chilling there. And yeah, that's the guy that's going to be blitzing. It's one thing to execute, to call a blitz, but it's another thing to execute it and really sell the hell out of it, man.
Another thing the Ravens do super well is that a lot of the rules don't apply very well to them. So, if you blitz that corner, you might think that, oh, that guy's going to be open. I should go to him real quick. No, we cycled to that. You know what I mean? The way they change the look after the play has been snapped. You need to go to your third read probably to find the open guy.
You don't have time for that,
and you're not going to have time for it.
And you're exactly right. That's what they did to Brock Purdy. Is like they knew Brock Purdy was going to play by the okay. You blitz this guy, all right. Well, the guy he was covering is open. I'm going to go to this guy. Nope, we knew you were going to do that. We're one step ahead. We already got a guy in there. Well, where's my second guy? Oh crap, I'm already sacked. Or I got to throw a bad ball. And Mike McDonald will have a plan for C.J. Stroud, a guy who's well ahead. I think he's already a smart quarterback, even as a rookie. Not just smart for a rookie. Like, he's a very smart quarterback right away. So very impressed with C.J. Stroud, but Mike McDonald's getting interviews for a reason. This defense of the Ravens led the league in takeaways and sacks and points allowed for a reason. Mike McDonald has a big part in that, even though it's a very skilled group. So, Alec, I want to bring up another graphic here. Our third graphic of the evening is just a quarterback comparison, just to show you the level that these two have been playing at all year. Not much to speak on, but you see the yardage for both. Excellent job. Remember, Jackson sat out the last game versus Pittsburgh. The Ravens also had multiple leads, which I think doesn't really come up in conversations, where they took the foot off the gas pedal, wanted to get out of that game healthy, just ran out the clock, ran the ball a lot. The interception to touchdown to interception ratio of both of these quarterbacks, so Alec, just tremendous. 24-7, and C.J. Stroud, the rookie, only 5 interceptions. Just excellent numbers across the board for both guys.
Yeah, and those Stroud interceptions all came in a cluster in the middle of the season. He hasn't done it again. 3 of them were against Arizona. And I think it's one of those things where he's just really been smart and disciplined with the ball. Now gets you really far in the NFL. And just he's done some real heroics too, man. Like, he's had some really impressive late season, end of game drives. So this is definitely a guy you don't want to give the opportunity to. He's already shown a clutch factor. And yeah, definitely a really up and coming quarterback. I still kick myself constantly. I was kicking myself literally today about having him as my number one, pure, passer, so to speak. I like the AR a little bit better and fantasy, from fantasy perspective. And also I love the AR, but I was like, Stroud's my number guy. And then AR went off the board, and I took Young, because that's what everyone was saying. You should take Young, and I hated myself ever since because I never really understood the Young hype, and maybe he'll turn it around, but man, Stroud is the real deal.
Yes, he takes shots downfields. And this next graphic we're putting up just goes to show you what kind of season Lamar has had and how good he is at these intermediate passes. Look at that list of names. Lamar Jackson in 2023, Lamar Jackson in 2019, Tom Brady in 2016, Aaron Rodgers, and then Gardner Minshew makes the list. Any Gardner Minshew joke over there, Alec?
I just remember when he was the third string quarterback when we played the Jags in that preseason game. We saw him get his helmet knocked off. That's my first memory of Gardner Minshew. We were making fun of him on the show for losing his helmet, not strapping up. And then he's made a little career for himself, hasn't he? But man, Lamar Jackson.
I'm going to make a call here. I think that was Kenny Young that knocked his helmet off.
It was Kenny Young.
Okay, there we go. You're bringing it up on the spot there. But yeah, the intermediate touchdowns without an interception. Lamar Jackson, deadly in the intermediate area, Alec. And what impresses me so much about Lamar Jackson in intermediate area is the skill needed to be successful there. It's simple to get the ball over the linebackers and in front of the safeties and wherever the corner is. You got to lead the receiver sometimes, and it's just impressive the accuracy with which Lamar throws the ball. Every quarterback is going to have bad throws, but Lamar knows he's got to get it over the touch involved. But you can't put too much on it. You got to put exactly the right amount of touch on it to not give those DBs a chance to catch up. Special ability from Lamar in the intermediate area. And the Ravens have players, a ton of players, really every player that can get open in the intermediate area. Bateman can do it. Zay can do it. The tight ends, obviously, that's their main job, is to get open in the middle of the field and in that intermediate area. So with these Texans linebackers, I would love to see in this game a little bit more play action to try to get those linebackers to take a step up or to take a step in the wrong direction to open up that intermediate area of the field, Alec. That's why I put that graphic, decided to bring that graphic from Twitter, is that I think the Texans can be exposed in that intermediate area without a star linebacker, young linebackers, and the Ravens running game cooking.
We've seen them really struggle against tight ends. It wasn't just in the wild card game, and I think that's going to be, obviously with how our tight ends are, something we can lean on. Lamar, a fantastic intermediate passer, like you were saying. I think that has a lot to do with his unique arm angles and approach to getting the ball out. He's willing to throw the ball in different ways to just get the ball where it needs to go. And I tell you, the other who else does that is Stafford. Stafford also is just an unbelievable thrower of the ball, the arm angles and such. But yeah, Lamar, man, the way he can throw off platform, the way they've leaned into that this year, just letting him beat him, really special. And I think that's a huge part of this offense and a huge reason why it ticks so well.
It does. To me, the arm angles play more into the short game. Like there's quick slants where you got to get it kind of around the lineman. To me, like the intermediate is all about Lamar's touch. But man, it feels so vindicated this year, man. And just from a personal perspective, I guess I can say it on my channel because if I can't brag on my own channel, where can I brag? But right. We've been seeing these throws from Lamar. I keep hearing the evolution of Lamar as a passer, the evolution of Lamar. Lamar could always throw. Don't get it twisted. He can always do the arm angles. He's always had good touch on the ball. He just has a system in which he can thrive now. So been a vindicating season for us Lamar believers in him as a passer, Alec.
I tell you, man, I've shared that video of yours of I remember helping you try to tabulate what these best plays were. You sent me a longer list, and you were like, which ones do you really think are the best? Is this the right order, et cetera? And I was like, man, this is impossible. They're all so good. I had a piece of paper. I was trying to rank it out for you and figure out the way I would do it or whatever. And it's tough because he has so many good passes. You're right. And I've sent that to many people being like, tell me he's not a good passer. And this isn't I remember what this video was before it was called down. There's so many examples of just
right. And that was a down year in which he only played 11 games or 12 games or whatever.
It was. Yeah. So he's a star, man. There's a reason they gave him such a great contract. I truly do believe he is in that top tier of quarterback. It's always frustrating to me to hear the national media discuss a different layer. They're always like, oh, the Mahomes, Allens of the world. And the fact that Lamar's not in that conversation is ridiculous. He's going to win an MVP again, and there's a reason it's not because of the legs.
Yeah, well, you know what? If Lamar wins the second MVP and the Super Bowl, they were not going to be able to leave him out of any of those conversations from here on out. They may want to, but even if they're like, oh, the best quarterbacks in the league, Mahomes, the Burrows, they're eventually somebody's going to say Lamar. They may not want to, but they're going to have to put that in. So lastly, Alec, let's look at some depth charts and pick out a matchup or two that plays into this game. I'm going to go ahead and put this up here right now. Let's take a look at this Ravens offensive depth chart. Pulling this up from ourlads.com, ourlads.com. Sorry for the accent.
Yep.
OUR. But what strikes me about this Ravens offense, and of course Ravens fans know this offense well, is the amount of weapons. So, okay, there are some teams that have a great number one. Let's look at Buffalo Bills, for example. They're the Stephon Diggs show. You shut down Stephon Diggs. They have Dalton Kincaid emerging. Gabe Davis shows up sometimes. But it's almost like you take away one guy, and it's tough. The Texans are like that. It's Nico Collins. Tank Dell's hurt. Noah Brown's hurt. If you can take away Nico Collins, you're going to have some success against the Texans. For this Ravens team, Alec, Odell, Rashad, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely. Mark hasn't officially been activated, so he's not on this list right now. But of course, you got Mark Andrews. The amount of weapons that the Ravens have in the pass game is what sticks out to me.
Yeah, of course it does. And that's what I was trying to say. They can play any personnel, 11, 12, 13, 23. They can do it, man. They have everybody. They have high quality players at every level. And that's what makes me super excited. You can't focus on one guy. You can't take one guy away. Come on. I mean, Aguilar, man, what a clutch signing that was by EDC. Undervalued. And he's just been performing quite well, very consistent, where he needs to be, team player, veteran guy, beautiful thing. I think the number one thing I would say is what I'm looking out for is how these battered and bruised tackles perform. If there will be a rotation that is deployed, even in the playoff level, that's kind of my question for you, Jason. And just kind of wondering, what's the health of a Will Anderson? He was limited, did not practice it, and then limited. Could be nothing, could be something. What do you think, man? How do you feel about that matchup?
Okay, well, as far as the tackles concerned, I personally am a put your best five out there, but I mean, there's an argument that says, well, if you don't rest Ronnie for a few series, then he's not going to be the best option come quarter four. So I understand why they've rotated. I would like to see the most stability, the better for me. So I think that's something that I'm just going to have to trust the coaches on. Alec is how healthy the guys are and how ready they are for a full workload when you talk about Ronnie Stanley and Morgan Moses. But I'm going to go ahead and flip it over here to this Texans defense so we can see. You mentioned Will Anderson, him and Jonathan Grenard this week. Both, Alec, correct me if I'm wrong, but they both missed practices and then came back to practice on Thursday today, and they're both good to go for the game. But they're beat up, correct?
I think they are beat up. I'm pulling up the injury report myself, but I definitely think that's something I noticed too, man. Everybody's hurt this time of year. There's a couple people that are on our injury report. We know that PQ's shoulder's a little janked up. We've had Rowe with the device on for a long time.
Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle. He's been getting nicked up, but yeah, you're right. He was limited, and then did not practice. Yep. With Grenier. But yeah, they feel like they're going to come back. I think it's one of those things, man. They know if the Ravens know it and the Texans know it even better. There might not be no game after this. So if you can produce and help out the team, you gotta go out there.
Yeah, so for me, it's not whether they'll play. Obviously, Will Anderson, the number one pick for the Texans. Jonathan Grenard, who led them in sacks this year, excellent year from him. And actually, Sheldon Rankins didn't practice earlier this week as well. So you're looking at three of their four main dudes up front are beat up. And, of course, yes, they'll play, but will they be at full strength, or how close to full strength will they be is a key to me, because every fraction of a second we can give Lamar, every yard we can get in the ground is going to matter here in the playoffs. So that is huge. Now, we were talking about, Alec, the plethora of weapons that the Ravens have, that we're not reliant on just one receiver. The Texans secondary, if you look at their secondary, left cornerback Derek Stingley, and that's been accurate from what I've seen on film. Derek Stingley likes to hang out on the left side of the defense. He is excellent. He is a number one pick. He has played up to standard there for the Texans. But you have former Steeler Steven Nelson at right cornerback, and Desmond King, pretty good player at nickelback. They are not as good as Derek Stingley. So what this tells me is this might be a game for Rashad Bateman, actually, because Rashad lines up on the opposite side of Stingley. He's usually on the left side of the offense. Stingley will probably be all over Odell and Zay Flowers from this game. So it may open up an opportunity for Rashad Bateman out there. I might suggest the bettors out there to just, not a lot, but just throw a couple of dollars on some Rashad Bateman overs, as he might not be facing their best corner.
Love that. Great analysis. I agree. Stingley is a top guy. He's a great corner. He definitely showed this year why he was selected first of all corners in his year, even over Sauce. He's a phenomenal cornerback, a guy that you can put on an island and trust and lock down whoever he's playing. And I do see us being able to pick on the likes of King and Nelson. I do agree that the ball will probably go in their direction. Also, those linebackers can be exploited. And that's going to be the bread and butter, I think, of the Ravens. There's no reason to, force the issue on Stingley. You know what I mean? Like, I love our wide receivers, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you got an alpha on an alpha over there. So just let it be, scheme it up and get, like you said, if he stays to his side, beautiful. Go throw whoever you want over there, focus the play on the other side, and then keep him honest by throwing the ball in the flats, perhaps, and keeping the ball going in that direction as well, but just not to Stingley per se.
And you mentioned the tight ends. Not only is it they're linebackers, we know them, but they're not household names. DeAndre Houston Carson, you may remember him, Alec,
Yeah.
and Ravens fans may remember him. He
Look,
was
it's
bouncing
right there. P. Baltimore, practice squad.
right. He came from our practice squad, a special teams ace, excellent special teams player. But as far as starting strong safety in this league or starting free safety in this league, not necessarily would be the first choice for many teams. So, with all due respect to DeAndre Houston Carson, the Ravens could hit some deep balls here over the top. You might see a deep ball to Bateman on that left side, just to test DeAndre Houston Carson's discipline and his ability as a free safety.
Sure, I would love that. I think this is another evolution of the offense. Is the more vertical passing game, just going deep. I think keeping teams honest that way, taking those shots, it'd be a great addition to this otherwise elite offense. I think that's just another wrinkle, like you said, man. They got a vault. I think there's plenty of things they can still throw at it.
So flipping over now to the Texans offense, mentioned the injuries at receiver that they've had. No Tank Dell, no Noah Brown now. Nico Collins leads the way for them. They're playing John Mechie and Robert Woods. I have a rookie left guard, second-round pick. He was a center at Penn State, Juice Scruggs, and Michael Dieter is their center, an upgrade from where they were in week one, but still not some big names there at center and left guard, hoping that Justin Madubuike and company can put a little pressure on C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is really good with people around him. He's not a mobile quarterback, as we saw with the rushing yards in that previous graphic that we had on. But he's very good with his pocket mobility, kind of like in the best quarterbacks that we've seen with that, like your Tom Brady or your Joe Burrow, who don't run for a lot of yards, but Stroud likes to manipulate that pocket, does it very well. So it's going to be important in my eyes, Alec, to get Juice Scruggs and Michael Dieter pushed back there with Madubuike and Pierce, and to create some pressure up the middle on C.J. Stroud.
Nothing more I like to see than those two guys just bowling, and pushing back and collapsing the pocket like you suggested. That's something they've done effectively all year. Very good duo, and I think it'll be difficult for this interior line to hold up consistently throughout the game. Another thing I'm looking at when I see this is Robert Woods is banged up a little bit too, so it wouldn't shock me if we see some Xavier Hutchinson even. Guy that I kind of liked in the draft process, and but he hasn't really done too much. He's kind of a possession receiver. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to break the game for you. So I think we got to just stay disciplined with this team, and I think we'll have good results.
Yeah, and the Texans can play big ball too. Like if they don't want to run Hutchinson out there and Robert Woods is banged up, or Mechie, who knows what kind of shape he's in, they can bring in that second tight end, Brevin Jordan, who had a nice catch and run for a touchdown against the Browns. They do play their fullback, Andrew Beck, some. So they can play with two receivers on the field. They don't have to have three receivers on the field all the time. And maybe they want to take the Ravens out of their nickel defense, which has worked so well, and they want to put Malik Harrison or they want to have the Ravens bring in Malik Harrison or Tavius Robinson for run defense instead of playing three safeties. So I wouldn't be surprised, Alec, if the Texans want to play heavier personnel against us and not go with three receivers a lot.
Sure, they can try. I don't know how that's going to work out for him. I really do kind of feel like Hamilton, in many ways, is just a freaky linebacker coverage guy as well. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we lose too much with having him out there from the run perspective, and we just get even better on the run when we have guys like Tavius in or or like Urban or etc.
So George Fant at right tackle, he is a finesse player, very good feet, but he can be bull rushed. Laramie Tunsil, obviously, all pro, Pro Bowl type left tackle. But it's going to be important to me, or a matchup I'm looking forward to watch, is whoever is over there on George Fant, whether it be Clowney or Kyle Van Noy, or if Adafio Way gets some run over there, to bull rush that man, to get some quick pressure by going straight through the right tackle.
I think this could be a nice game for OA, man. He's definitely been a sleeping giant a little bit in the back half of the season. Not to say that he hasn't been making some impact plays, but I feel like he could really let it on in the playoffs if you know the stars align, so to speak. And you got these veterans, man, Van Noy, Clowney. These guys, they know what it's like. I mean, Van Noy is a great example of knowing what it's like to get to the Super Bowl and how to play. Clowney's just been an absolute disruptor, really rejuvenated his career here. It'd be so cool to see him remain in Baltimore. EDC works some magic, but yeah, man, these guys are what make you so confident, man. I really do think in many ways this is the part that makes me so confident about the Ravens going forward is just the ridiculous stable of disruptors they have that they got off the street, man. I mean, Darby, total dog outside there, and we're going to need him. Marlowe's out for this game, and I have full trust in him. And we got him at the last minute, at the end of spring or training camp. It's wild, man.
Really is a lot of depth on this defense. So looking at the Ravens defense here, Marlon Humphrey in the red, he will miss this game with the calf. Man, calf injuries are just so tricky. And, he hurt it trying to block an extra point, which just rubs me the wrong way. I wish that we didn't have a veteran cornerback that we rely on trying to block extra points from the edge there. But that's what happened. No Marlon Humphrey this game. The Ravens have shown, like you said, with Ronald Darby, coming in and playing lights out for them in a reserve role. Brandon Stevens' career year, he's going to make a lot of money. Look at all the talent on that defense. So my question to you here, before we get to some general thoughts, if the Texans have Laramie Tunsil, just a lockdown left tackle, and of course their right tackle isn't as good as Laramie Tunsil, how do you attack it with our edge rushers? Like, here's whoever you put against Laramie Tunsil isn't going to have the best day. Okay. So do you put Clowney over there and try to get some pressure on their beast left tackle? Or do you just say, you know what, we're going to say Clowney's our best edge rusher. We'll put him against their right tackle. And that's where we're going to get the mismatch. Do you sacrifice some Odafio way by putting them against Tunsil? Or do you mix and match? Like, how do you play that? Do you want your strength on their strength? Or do you want our strength on their mismatch, on their worst tackle?
I would say I want our strength on their mismatch, but I'd also add in. I feel like Odafe Owe is the one guy I think uniquely gifted to be able to beat Tunsil. That's what I was kind of trying to say. Where at the stars of the line, like he should be unblockable, and I feel like he's really shown some growth this year. So I want to see him use those gifts and let him loose against Tunsil. And where the expectations are almost that he's so good, it's going to be hard, but just let him try his best because if anyone can do it, he has the gifts.
Gotcha. So let the physical gifts work on Tunsil with Adafio Way, and then the veteran pass rushers, let them work against their right tackle, Van Noy, Clowney. Of course, we're saying this, Alec, and they're going to mix it up. It's not going to be one guy versus one guy the whole game. But just wanted to get a general sense there of how you would play it. Let Adafi try to have a career day, man. Let him see if he can really stress the edge on Laramie Tunsil and get around there and use that spin move that he's developed. I've been very impressed with Adafio Way. He looks like a different player. And man, wish he was fully healthy all year to really try to break out. But we've seen career years from Clowney, Van Noy, of course, Matabike up the middle. It's a fearsome group. And to be able to disrupt CJ Stroud to me is just one of, if not the key to the game, especially on defense.
Owe is an exhausting player, I imagine. Just because of those traits and everything, man. He's like the guy that will get the knock you out, get you a lot of body punches, make your test your cardio, and then you bring in a guy like Clowney with that finesse and just raw disruption. That could be a good combination.
Could be. So we're here. Final thoughts time, buddy. Let's wrap it up. Going about an hour here. How are you feeling about Saturday?
I'll tell you, man. I told Jordan Co from the Situation Room. I sent him a text earlier. I said, after doing my podcast, I was feeling pretty good about this game. I felt pretty confident. I was like, I'm talking to Jason tonight. And if I feel the same way after talking about it with Jay, I'm like, you got to hit that bet. And I said, the thing that's crazy, I first saw the line. I was like, I can't believe 9.5 points for the Ravens. Unbelievable. Like, that's disrespectful to the Texans. But every time I think about how this game's going to probably play out, I'm like, yeah, they probably cover. I think the Ravens can definitely cover. So it's just like one of those things, man, where like this team is so hot. They're just cooking. And no one just, like, you don't remember people scoring against us. It's really rare circumstances, like that crazy Deshaun Watson, my shoulder's broken, last hurrah, second half. That was like the only time we've seen a team really put up meaningful points against us in a short amount of time. Like, no one's putting up points really, dude. And these explosive offenses come into town and they just can't do anything. They get like a sympathy touchdown at the end of the game when we're just like wanting to kill clock, It's unbelievable how good our defense has been, and then our offense is able to execute, get some big plays, and just control the game. The complementary football is out of control, and I think that is their secret weapon. The Ravens have been built in a complementary way, a version of football that is very hard to beat. You have a defense that says you can score, but it's going to take a while, and it's hard to do, and an offense that can be either super explosive or play like ball control. What a great combination. Love this team. Truly do believe that they're going to be able to win this game and win it with confidence and strike fear in that matchup of the Bills and the Chiefs will be watching, and they're going to be a little nervous.
Love it, love it. So for me, Alec, it's very, very simple. It's the old adage, and I just think that it's more true with this Ravens team because we don't need anything extra. We don't need anything extra. We don't need breaks to go our way, this, that, and the other. It's just take care of the ball. You take care of the ball. All 4 of the Ravens' losses this year, they've turned the ball over 2 or more times. So just protect the ball like you have been these last 10 weeks. The Ravens lead the league in turnover differential with plus 12. The Texans are very good too. They're plus 10. But just protect the ball. The Ravens will eventually find your weakness. They will take away your strengths. And that's how they win games. And man, you got me fired up there with the defense. It's very true, bro. Like the amount of times we've taken our foot off the pedal on offense and allowed some garbage time stats, some garbage time passing yards, garbage time touchdowns to cut the lead to 16. Like, I mean, imagine if the offense wasn't as good, you know what I mean, as putting up as many points. The defensive numbers might actually be better, which usually you say, oh, well, their defense is getting help from their offense. So the offense is on the field. This Ravens team is not like that as far as like being a time of possession hog. Like, if anything, the Ravens have raced out ahead of teams and their defensive points have just been misleading because they're sitting back in a prevent type look and letting teams drive down the field. So I'm excited. I really want the Ravens to take care of business this week, just more than humanly possible, just because I want to see that AFC Championship game in Baltimore. I want to see these Lamar narratives start to disappear or have even less and less merit. We need this game, brother. We need this game. Go Ravens. Want to see you come out with the win.
Love it, man. So good talking to you, and go Ravens.
Go Ravens. So with that, say thank you to my football family. Please check out the videos. Please check out, if you can't get enough of Alec, and really who can get enough of Alec, go check him out on One Winning Pod here on YouTube, also on all your streaming platforms. Or can you plug that for a second, please?
Yeah, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and we have our website too, onewinningpod.com. And we're around, man. Find us on X and Threads.
There you go. Twitter. That's Twitter for you old people. So thank you to my football family. Love my football family. Thanks for all the support. Hopefully we will see you next week and get Alec to come back again and preview an AFC Championship game. That would be so lovely. So, Alec, say goodnight to the people, please.
Good night, everybody.